Good afternoon. I'm going to go over the watch list for the week of June 15th, 2020. A lot of the plays are going to be based on the COVID-19. Well, I've been talking about for the last week that this is the week that we're going to see numbers skyrocketing for COVID-19, and we're already starting to see that over the weekend. A lot of the states are getting record coronavirus cases and hospitalizations across the U.S. So when you have an airborne pandemic and you have hundreds of thousands of people across the world protesting, that it's not going to be good. And they've been protesting for about 2 weeks, and it takes about 2 weeks for symptoms to show or signs of COVID-19. So the numbers should start skyrocketing this week. So we're going to focus mostly on the COVID-19 plays and the stocks that run and dump during COVID-19, the first wave. Now, they already said that they're not going to close down the economy if a second wave comes, but which it could be, they could change their mind and they could start closing down if it gets really, really bad. But you have to think about, if they don't close anything, things that are closed now will not open. They will stay closed. The economy is already took a huge blow in the first round. The second wave, if it's really bad, could be catastrophic to the economy, and tons of people are still out of jobs. Millions, tens of millions of people are out of job. I mean, the economy and things are just so fragile right now. A second wave, if it's really bad, worse than the first one, which it usually is historically, that it could be catastrophic across the board. So we're going to focus on those type of stocks. I'm anticipating that during the first wave, a lot of the action was dump and overnight pump. So basically, I'll show you on SPY before I get into the watch list what I'm talking about. And during the first sell-off on the daily, you can see right in here that they would gap down, the next day would pop. And so a lot like it did on Friday. I mean, it did a gap down Thursday, then it popped up on like, I don't know, it was like 50 points, and then it sold off. So I'm thinking that we're going to have the same kind of reaction. I'm going to gap down, then we're going to pop up, then we're going to gap down more, pop up. So that's why I've been calling it, dump, overnight pumps. So that's how we're going to end up playing it. That's what I'm going to be looking for the entire week. I think that the week could be really bad. So a lot of people don't think so. I mean, sometimes the market cares about the numbers and sometimes it doesn't, but I think the numbers could be so substantial that the market can't ignore it. So with that said and done, let's just get into the watch list. On the bullish side, I have the same kind of plays that did on the first wave. You got CLX, which is Clorox. You're gonna need bleach, and the chart looks really good. You get a big ascending triangle on the daily. I mean, it gets over 210. This thing is gonna make all-time highs, and there's gonna be a huge demand for that. And another thing I want to point out too is that the stocks that did really well during the first wave, when there was a lot of social distancing and a lot of stores closed, there's a little more stores open now that may remain open. So the demand for some of the like Amazon might not be as much, but I could be wrong. It's still probably still going to react positively for orders and stuff like that, but the demand might not be as much. I don't know, but I'm still got it on the watch list anyway. So this is Clorox. I'm expecting Clorox over 210. If it goes over 210, it's gonna make all-time highs. I mean, bleach is gonna be a priority during this. So another one is, I get the gaming stocks. Is it yeah, no, it's backwards. I always get these ones backwards. I always think it's AVTI. Activision and EA. I mean, people are at home. We get into lockdown again, or we recommend that you stay home, or the fear is that there's so much fear that people don't want to leave the house, that video games could be back in surging again. So, over 74, you can see, is that all-time high? No, it's not. If it gets over that 75, it could go back up to all-time highs. I mean, it gets over this 74 4 area and over 75. I mean, it could climb all the way up into 80, even retest this all-time high at 84. So I would watch the gaming ones, which is Activision, EA, and TTWO. I'll look at that in a second. So you can see that EA did pretty decent on Friday. So if it does get some momentum, I mean, gets over, the 124, I mean, you can get up into the 133s, and it gets over that, you can see 140. If there's any momentum on the gaming stocks, TTWO. See, this chart looks so much better, but I believe that I haven't looked at the option chains on this in a while, but you can see in the weekly that it's setting up a lot better. You get inverted head and shoulders right here. You get the left shoulder, you get the head, then you get the right shoulder. I'm going to end up putting this down next to them because I always forget about TTWO being a gaming stock because I always look at Activision and EA. But I would watch the gaming ones, and also Johnson & Johnson, they're working on some kind of vaccine. I would keep an eye on them. Switch back to the daily. Even though it did have a harsh sell-off on Thursday, and it had an inside. See, Friday there was a ton of inside candles and black candles. So if any news comes out in Johnson & Johnson about having progress in a vaccine or something, that it'll probably end up popping. I think Lilly did too, LLY. But another one to keep an eye on. Well, if you want to trade the Johnson & Johnson, I mean, it gets over 143. I think it has a lot of resistance to the 146. That's where I would probably start worrying about, because that's where it broke down. It's probably going to come back and retest this area. I don't know if it'll break out. It depends on if there's any news or not, or what's going on with the COVID-19. But another one to watch out for is M&M, Triple M, 3M. They make the masks. They did well the first time, and if COVID-19 comes in full effect or panic, that we could see a huge demand for more masks, and 3M would probably be one to look at, over 156 to fill the gap to the 165 area on Triple M. Now Roku, I got Roku on the list because it's part of like Netflix and stuff like that, so that could end up popping. I'm not quite sure. The only thing is I don't have Netflix on the bullish side, and the reason I'm thinking of that is because it's summertime. I mean, even though people, if they're hesitant about leaving the house, they could probably still sit outside of their home or just do outdoor activity in their yard or whatever, instead of being at home watching TV. So I'm not really too bullish on Netflix. We'll have to see how the week goes, but I have Roku down for if the market is strong this week, or it does have any green days, Roku probably one I'd be looking at. It'd be over 109 for retest 115. And if you can get over 115, which it's been struggling at, that you could probably see 120. Roku would need some volume and would need something to get it going. A strong market would get it up and going, but we'll have to see, because I'm not quite sure how strong Netflix, Roku, and Disney will be during the if a second wave. Well, not if a second wave is here. It's just how big it's going to be and how devastating it's going to be, and what people are going to actually be able to do. Now, Spotify is another one that does well. People listen to music when they're home, even though it's kind of like chopping around in a little Darvis box right here. I do like this. It's all the internet stocks end up doing well during the first wave, so I would anticipate them doing probably pretty well during the second wave. So I would watch the Spotify over 182 to even get up into the 190. If you get over 190, you can easily see 195. And if it does manage to get up to the 195, it's probably going to end up breaking out. So, and what is the all-time high? Is 198. So yeah, Spotify could see 200 this week if it's getting any momentum. So I would definitely keep an eye on Spotify. Shop does well. I mean, people online shop, they buy things, they don't want to go to the store. And the chart doesn't look that bad. I mean, it's holding this RCT, the regression channel trend line. I mean, it did close over the 20 EMA on the daily, and people start buying it. That get over the 340, get over 750. That's a 340. Sorry. If it gets over 750, I mean, it's going to end up going to 780. And again, it does manage to clear 780. I mean, you could probably see 800 again on Shop. So I would keep an eye on Shop and Amazon. Obviously, Shop and Amazon online retailers, they did really, really well. And you had this, I called this breakout like last week, and look, it did it. I said it was going to go to 2,700, and it did. Wow, I nailed that one. But as it did break out at 2,700, it's coming back, and it's retesting this trend line right here of the breakout. And Amazon could turn around right here, and if it does, I think it's going to go over 2,700 again. So I would watch it over the 2565 area to get to the 2600, then get to the 2650 area. Then when it gets over that, it's probably going to go to the 27. We'll have to see if Amazon picks up steam in the during this little second wave. It should. It did the first time. Walmart did good during this, because Walmart's one of the few stores that was still open during the first wave. So I would keep an eye on Walmart, you know, over 118.50 to the 120s. Even gets to the 120s. It's going to find some resistance in the 124 range and even 125. But if it can get over the 125, I mean, it could end up seeing 128. So I would watch Walmart too. And Costco. Costco is still open. The first wave, I mean, they're still open now, obviously, but they were doing well the first time. I would anticipate that Costco will end up running with other retailers. So if retailers start running, like Walmart, Target, and Costco, Costco's probably going to do pretty good too. So it gets over 300. Next real big resistance, you get, 302, then you get 306, and even 308. So I think that, you know, if retail starts picking up this week in fears of COVID-19, that this could take off too. So, and another one to watch out for is the Dollar Tree. Those dollar stores, people are, fat fingered that. People are low on money, and when people have no money or low on money, they shop for value. So the dollar stores end up doing really well. That's why Walmart does well. So as you can see on the daily, it did fill the gap, and now that it filled the gap, if it gets any momentum this week, I mean, it gets over 89, it could probably come back up and retest this 96 area on the daily. I think that the dollar stores, will do pretty good if things start picking up in number wise COVID-19. People are going to go out and they're going to buy cleaners, they're going to buy sanitation, they're going to buy soap. You know, they're going to buy bleach, gloves, and other things you can get at the dollar store, other cleaning supplies. So I would keep an eye on that. Now, on the bearish side, I've got Apple. I mean, Apple's doesn't have, I don't think they have all their stores open. I think they've got some of them open, and I have no idea. They closed down the first time. I don't know if they'd actually close down. Now, with me saying this, that stores may voluntarily close even if the government does stay open, keep the economy open. Some stores will say, hey, we're going to shut down for the safety of the customers and our employees because we don't want the liability. Because at that point in time, it's a liability. So there could be, Apple is non-essential. You don't need a phone. You don't need an iPad. You don't need AirPods. You don't need a computer. It's not essential. So their companies could voluntarily shut down for a second wave. So you got to keep that in mind. There could be news about that. So Apple, I would keep an eye on for that. Under it's probably going to end up gapping down tomorrow, and definitely under 335. And if it does end up gapping down, the biggest support right here would probably right around the 324, 316 area would be the area to watch. And if it does, the market starts really dumping hard, that You could also see down here to 300. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we see Apple at 300 this week if the market's really nasty. So I predicted the first wave, the VIX was going to hit 100 and SPY was going to get to 200, and I was so close for my prediction. I think VIX went to 87 and SPY went to 218. I mean, I was just so close from nailing that. I'm still holding to those numbers right now. Second wave hits, VIX is going to 100 and SPY is going to 200. Call me crazy, but when this is all said and done, we'll see where we end up. Next one is NVIDIA. Now, NVIDIA, I mean, it is holding up pretty well over the 20 EMA. I mean, it could end up popping, but if the market sells off, NVIDIA is going to collapse with it. So I would definitely watch NVIDIA under 347. And I think the area it could bounce pretty good is right here in the 323 area, 324. And if it does get below that, I would look for 310. So NVIDIA is one I'd be looking for on the short side. BABA, same thing. I mean, I called BABA was going to drop right here when it got to the top of the Keltner channel, and it did. And I still think that BABA's got more room on the downside, and it gets below this 213 area. I mean, I would look for support at like 206, and then 200. So we could see BABA down to 200, and if the market's really, really nasty, we could see it down here at 193. So on BABA. So now the Fed stepped in the first time, and the Fed will probably step in again. And the thing you got to understand is the Fed has been pumping so much money into the market, and it's basically printing unlimited amount of money. There's going to be a point in time where the sell-off is going to be greater than the Fed can pump, and this could be a real panic that the Fed can't handle. The first wave, there was I wouldn't say there was like mass panic, but there was a little bit of slight panic, only a little bit in the market and in the real world. But I thought there would be a lot more panic than there was. So if there is a big panic in the market, that things could get really, really ugly. So just be aware of that. And and if there is a huge sell-off, that would be a time to start grabbing some calls long term, because eventually the fear will dissipate like it did the first round. I mean, if it goes and retests the other lows, that they could make new lows. Facebook is another one. It's chopping around in this little Dowrez box right here. Gets under 222. Thinking the same thing. They'll end up selling off with the market. That gets to the 214s and gets to that. I mean, you could retest the 202, even the 200 area right here, which is the RCT trend line. So this was with the idea that the market is going to get clobbered this week, and I think it's going to. Now Netflix, I know Netflix did pretty well the first time, but like I said, that people may be outside this round, and you get a head and shoulders on the daily. Get the left, the head, and the right, and it gets below this 410. You could see a big dump on Netflix. It's probably down to 380. And it's the area I would look, and it could even get down to 360 if the sell-off is really, really nasty. So I would watch for the head and shoulders to play out this week. When is the next one? Now, when it came back down and retested where it broke out, I know that Las Vegas has opened up, and it's kind of like, I guess they're doing pretty good, I guess, but if there is a massive spike in cases, that I'm not sure, maybe they'll voluntarily close down again, or I don't know. I would imagine that if the market's going to sell off, this is going to dump with it too. So even if it's open under 88 and it gets under 88, I think we could possibly even fill this gap down here into the 79 region on win. So I would watch that too. BA is going to end up following the market unless there's a catalyst. So I would watch BA under 166. and probably come down here and retest this 140 area. And if the market gets really nasty, there's a lot of support right down here into the 120. So anticipating that we're going to see a big sell-off this week. If not, we'll adjust accordingly. But that's what I'm anticipating. Disney's the last one. Disney, I mean, it looks like it's curling up right here on the hourly and the 4 hour. Actually, no, the 30-minute and 1 hour. For some reason, I thought I had the 4 hour on this. I mean, it looks like it's curling up, but I mean, there is a gap right here. But I'm still thinking if it, gets under 112, that it's going to fill the gap down here under 110, and you could see it come down to the 104 area, even down to the 100 area. So that's how we're going to play the week. Well, at least that's how I'm going to play the week. Just be cautious that this week could be very volatile. It could be some massive swings. And like I said, it could be dump overnight pumps. So beware of that and trade accordingly. So that's going to do it. Thanks for watching.